Hey everybody, my name is Jay, and this is I Have a Samurai. So today we're going to look at a match that I had in Grand Finals of a tournament. You guys probably saw my last video, which was the Winners Finals against a Raphael player. That Raphael player lost to this Taki player in Losers Finals. Now, I played against this Taki player earlier in the tournament. I was using Geralt at the time, and the things that I noticed were that he doesn't necessarily do a whole lot of verticals. He likes to do a lot of possession mix-ups. And so we're talking about kind of short range. He's not as aggressive as you would expect from a Taki player. He's very much like the Raph player in the sense of I get an understanding of he knows how fighting games work, but he's not necessarily all that experienced with Soul Calibur specifically. The reason why I switched over to Grow was again kind of like for this video because I wanted to be more Grow-centric for the time being. Some other things were that when he does possession mix-ups, he tends to do the slower ones, stuff like the unblockable, which can be sidestepped. So I wasn't really expecting, once I see that he goes into possession, I wasn't necessarily interested in respecting it all that much. He also likes to use the projectile from full screen, which most of the opponents didn't know was a high. It'll catch all sidesteps, but you can duck it. So more often than not, what I tend to do is duck the projectile, which Taki players normally just go in with possession to like go off of that kind of pressure. But then I will just duck and then attack immediately to get him away from that. So let's see how it goes. So again, I'm starting off with a few things like 3-3K on block or 6-6K on block to see if like he knows to pressure that kind of stuff. 6-6B on block, which he did end up punishing. Kind of like the last video, kind of like the last match, I'm putting my opponent in as many situations right at the start as possible to see like how he interacts. So it looks like he's going to be like the Raph player where he's going to be able to block lows. So you see here, I'm not sure if he intended that, but he canceled but didn't run up on that situation that I was talking about before with the projectile. So he ended up getting a lethal hit because I wasn't really expecting him not to come in. I'm just kind of spacing it out. I go for the AA punish, which is the punish on block. So he ends up getting hit by the guard break. But yeah, in that situation, there has to be a way that he could have wrung me out. I think it was just like a missed input, or maybe it was just missed space, so I got pretty lucky there. 6-6B on block, he does end up punishing it. So I'm just kind of like making a note of that. I'm doing a lot of 1K, just kind of like I always do. He ends up catching me. I guess that's, I'm not really sure, what the frames are on that, but he ends up going for the CE. That was one of the other things that I noted in his set with the Raphael player in Losers Finals, was the fact that he was very adamant about using CEs in kind of like a neutral situation plus CEs when he's on Wake Up. And as much as I don't like it, it is a pretty legitimate tactic. As far as I know, Taki's super is not something that's punishable on block, so there's not a whole lot that I can do about it. It's just something that I have to be wary as I'm going through the match. So he has another one, so I have to make sure that I'm, keeping note of that. So he ends up respecting the guard break, which is something that I have to make a note of. And he also blocks low right on Wake Up. So I'm noticing a lot of blocking low on Wake Up, and it's going to be kind of like the same situation where I don't necessarily want to only do mids. It's kind of something that I want to keep in the back of my mind, that he's the kind of person who's going to duck a lot at the beginning on a wake up situation, so that when I really need it, I'll be able to cash in. Because the punishment isn't all that strong. It's not like I'm dealing with like a stab from Sophie or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep doing lows to the same amount as if I'm not adapting to his ducks. Until I absolutely need to cash in on it to potentially win the set. I think he was on his phone asking for tips. I'm not 100% sure. Or maybe he just wanted a different stage. In any case, we ended up getting the exact same stage. This is the exact same stage that Winners Finals was played on as well. I don't know what happened. So I'm surprised the 2A didn't get caught by that teleport up. More 1K. So I got kind of lucky about that reversal edge. That's an AA punish. And he ends up, punishing stance stuff correctly. I keep getting hit by that same setup. I guess that is either plus on block or it's negative on block just low enough to where he could still mash out and beat whatever I'm going to do. This is something that Taki can do that's kind of like her MO, is she's a very offensive pressure type of character. Gro is as well, but he's ever so slightly slower. So I kind of have to play an untraditional way of playing Gro, where I'm actually the quote-unquote zoner, the longer range punishment kind of guy, which isn't necessarily his strong suit. You could either go even more aggressive, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend against Taki, because she's probably going to be able to beat you out in a lot of positions where most characters have to respect you. But also, this one's a little bit unfamiliar too. It's kind of an awkward situation, an awkward matchup potentially. So I end up ducking the low. He punishes the stance B on block. Each time I get hit by that same situation. So that was very unusual to me. He does this a handful of times where he's really on a roll and then he just leaves. He leaves the situation, which really kind of screws with me. He could have potentially punished me after that whiff GI, but he was already too far away. So it's something that really throws me off guard. It's arguably a pretty good tactic. So he ends up trying to mash. Unlike the Raphael player, he ends up ducking the low, but I abuse my longer range, kind of like what I was talking about, and get the 3B into punish. No punish off the 6-6 BB, but not a whole lot of people do that. See, again, it was the exact same kind of situation where he has me, I do the whiff GI, but he doesn't end up getting a punish because he's already left the spacing to such a degree. So here I go for the both Bs in stance, because it seems like he's trying to punish the first one so often. He's also incorporating reversal edge much more in this set than he was in the previous one, which is probably a good tactic because I haven't done a whole lot of guard breaks, seeing as how I'm worried about the mash. Ducks low again. Now here, there was no way that was a punish. There's no way that kick is that punishable. So I'm pretty sure he did that and then either pressed a button or tried to duck, which is why I was able to get that 3B combo. And I think the reason why he didn't duck low on the second one is because the particle effects were a little bit too extreme, and so he couldn't actually see the animation. Now here I'm trying to do the same thing that I've talked about in previous videos, where I try to pressure my opponent when they don't get the push away from the soul charge. Here I'm trying to do some jump stuff, which is why I keep getting hit by it. But again, it's kind of well, I'm not really getting hit too hard for doing this kind of thing. So even though I kind of look like an idiot, it's no big deal. Doesn't get the punish off of the 3B. I wonder if they can't punish it. So he gets his guard break, but it's pretty negligible damage. Ducks low again. I have to keep remembering that. Now it said counter there, so he didn't duck. He actually tried to press a button. So far, I've been not really respecting any of the stuff that he wants to do. Essentially, my motto is, when it comes to this sort of thing, I'm going to do the exact same thing every single time until my opponent forces me to do something else. Prove to me that due to the amount of damage that I'm going to be risking by disrespecting your stance mix-ups, that I should stop. Until then, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing, because essentially the way that I'm kind of playing this is, well, if Gro plays his game, then it doesn't really matter whether I'm unaware of what Taki can do. So, because every character looks the same when they get hit by a Gro mix-up. It's not really necessary for me to worry about what Taki can do if she's always on the defensive. So until he forces me to do something else, I'm going to keep doing the same thing. I duck the grab again. Yeah, still kind of the same stuff where he was punishing the BB. Yeah, his use of reversal edge is a lot better. I have to start using guard breaks. Here I get kind of irritated because now it's like he's mashing reversal edge, and it's like, I know it's good, but it's frustrating me. I have to start worrying about that. He respects the guard break as he has before, so I go for that. And even though I was right, I was a little bit too late on the guard break, so I end up getting caught by the CE. I remember this one being very frustrating. This was a good adaptation by my opponent as well, because every time he's run up, he's grabbed, and so I've ducked it, and this time he's finally gone for the mid to seal out the first round. I remember this round being very frustrating because it was like a lot of, the CE plus the reversal edges. It made it very difficult for me to play the game that I just described. That must have been like a tech trap. Calling off of 6AA, he doesn't necessarily seem to know about the 6AA string. And I believe I keep losing all of these reversal edges as well, which is frustrating. Into a ring out. So at this point, I'm 2 rounds down to 0, and so the game plan that I just described, where I think, okay, well, as long as I am able to put him on the defensive, I'll be able to just play my game without worrying about what his game is. It seems like that it was working before, but is now failing, so I have to change up my strategy. Plus, at this point, I'm a little bit frustrated, and it seems like when I get frustrated, I play a little bit tighter. So now my game plan is to let him do what he's going to do. At the very least, I'll be able to learn a little bit more about it. I have a few, even if I lose this game, I have a few games, because he has to reset the bracket too. I have a few games to spare, so I can kind of learn what he's doing, but I'm also just going to play really tight, just try to go with punishes, do very small attacks so that his reversal edges aren't as effective. That's the game plan for me right now. Also, I'm going to start trying to cash in on, so he either mashed or he did a duck right at the beginning of his wake up. Normally I go for a 1A, and now I'm doing 6BB, and I'm also doing 3B just straight up in the neutral. For 1, he's not really punishing it, so it's not like I'm risking anything, and for 2, I'm trying to abuse the fact that he tends to duck a lot, which is something that I learned throughout the beginning of the set. I went for a 1A, that was probably bad. Here I'm abusing the fact that he doesn't seem to know about the 6AA combo or attack string. And, you can see me doing 1B. You can see me doing stuff just like a BB to kind of get away from reversal edges being as effective on me. See, I wasn't really using BB all that much beforehand. Here I end up getting the sidestep because, again, I'm either doing sidesteps in that situation or I'm doing a 2A in that situation until he starts punishing me for that kind of thing. And really, when he punishes me, it's not all that much damage. Really, if I was him, I would just, just hammer it into my psyche, make it so that I am forced to respect that kind of mix-up. And I'm, again, abusing the fact that he doesn't know much about the 6AA block string, which ends up bringing him out. So just taking the information that I've learned over the past few games and trying to apply to get myself out of this kind of situation. Here I'm trying to respect the CE, which I'm surprised he doesn't end up doing here. At any point during that, he could have just CE'd. Here I meant to do a 6A while I was in Soul Charge, but it didn't end up coming out. Yep, I'm just doing stepping, trying to play very tight. Into 6B, into 6BB. So yeah, the last round was really just a culmination of all the things that I was trying to keep track of while the set was continuing. I noticed that he was ducking a lot on his wake up. I tried to respect the CE, trying to 2A him out of any of the kind of stance stuff, which I end up turning into stepping. And then as time went on, I noticed he wasn't punishing 3B, using that a lot more, using a lot of reversal edge, so now I'm just kind of doing small hits. I don't necessarily want to do guard breaks because they're a little bit too slow. I might get hit by the CE, or I might lose to just him mashing out. That's one of the things that you just have to worry about when it comes to Taki. Is it going to be effective as time goes on? I hope so, because I don't have many other ideas for the time being. But yeah, that was the grand final set of the tournament, which is going to be a weekly. I hope that I get to keep going, and I hope these guys are still interested in playing against me. But that's it for today, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, thanks very much.